We're interrupting our programming right now with breaking news on the coronavirus crisis. Good morning, I'm Brahm Resnik. The Arizona Department of Health Services just releasing new numbers on coronavirus cases statewide. DHS reporting that 24 people have died. There are now 1,289 confirmed cases, 788 of those here in Maricopa County. Those numbers are up from yesterday when there were 20 deaths reported statewide and 1,157 confirmed cases. These new numbers come a day after Governor Doug Ducey issued a stay-at-home order for all Arizonans. It goes into effect at 5 p.m. today. The order does not require people to stay inside, but it encourages everyone to only go out for essential tasks. And when outside, people...
Grocery stores and pharmacies are not closing. Grocery stores and pharmacies are not closing. They will remain open, and everyone should continue to buy 1 week's worth of groceries for 1 week's worth of needs. That way, there will be plenty of stock available for everyone in our state. Our supply chain is strong.
Anyone who knowingly violates the executive order is guilty of a Class 1 misdemeanor according to Arizona law, but the order says that people will be notified and given an opportunity to comply before any enforcement action will be taken. Also, no one is required to provide documentation proving they're doing essential activities while they're away from home, so it's unclear how non-compliance will be determined or what exactly the enforcement mechanism will be. The stay-at-home order will remain in effect through the end of April. Governor Ducey also announced yesterday that Arizona schools will remain closed through the end of the school year. This includes all school-sponsored sports and activities. The governor and school superintendent Kathy Hoffman say the health and safety of students is their #1 priority. Many of Arizona's prisons are no longer accepting new inmates due to concerns over the coronavirus, but Maricopa County Sheriff Paul Penzone isn't fully on board with that plan. Here's what's happening. The State Department of Corrections is calling for a suspension of new inmates that would last up to 21 days. Most of Arizona's sheriffs have agreed to the plan, but Sheriff Penzone says he's hesitant because it could put an unnecessary burden on Maricopa County's jail system. Right now, there are no reported cases of COVID-19 in any Arizona prison, and they have 42,000 inmates there. Honeywell is doing its part to help fight the coronavirus outbreak. The company is expanding production of medical masks and respirators at its facility just outside downtown Phoenix. Mayor Kate Gallego commended the company, saying its contribution will help save lives. Honeywell does need help making these masks, and it's looking to hire 500 people right now. Meanwhile, Johnson & Johnson will soon begin human testing of its experimental vaccine for the coronavirus. But even if all goes well, the vaccine wouldn't be ready anytime soon. Preliminary results won't be known till the end of the year. If the vaccine works, the company says it could be available for emergency use early next year. A surreal sight in New York City, what's become the epicenter of the coronavirus outbreak in our country. A makeshift hospital now open in Central Park. Each of these white tents has 68 beds inside, including 10 intensive care unit beds to treat patients with coronavirus. Here in the Valley, the Army Corps of Engineers is looking at Veterans Memorial Coliseum as a potential coronavirus treatment center. We're told there's no final decision yet, but if that is the plan, the event center could be outfitted with medical supplies and patients within a week. Meantime, the Army Corps of Engineers and private contractors are getting to work on reopening the shuttered St. Luke's Medical Center near downtown Phoenix and outfitting 8 of the 9 floors for coronavirus patients. The hospital could reopen within 3 weeks. So recapping our breaking news now, the Arizona Department of Health Services just releasing new numbers connected to the coronavirus outbreak. Here's another look. DHS reporting that 24 people have died. There are now 1,289 confirmed cases. 788 of those are in Maricopa County. Those numbers are up from yesterday when there were 20 deaths reported statewide and 1,157 confirmed cases. And taking a closer look at the numbers here in Maricopa County, again, there are now 788 confirmed cases. The county reports there are 8 deaths, 140 people hospitalized, 51 of them in intensive care. And stay with 12 News for the latest on the coronavirus outbreak, and join us this Thursday at 6 p.m. for a 1-hour commercial-free statewide town hall with Governor Doug Ducey and other state officials. It's a virtual town hall. We will send in your questions. Here's how to do that. Text those questions to 602-444-1212. Again, Thursday night at 6 right here on 12 News. Thank you so much for joining us. We return you to our regular programming.